Hopefully this stuff is working. Hopefully y'all can hear me. What's going on, guys? Cody from Motorcycle MD, and welcome to the Ask MD episode 4, where I go over questions that I get from my email list, mainly my email list. The people who go to my website, motorcyclemd.com, they subscribe to my mailing list, and then they have a contact with me. I'm really bright because it's light above. Sorry about that, but that's where they can contact me. I have if you go to the website and go to the Ask MD section of the drop-down, there is a YouTube live Q&A, and it's a spreadsheet for you to answer, fill out your bike's details, and give me, all the information that you can possibly give me to answer the question. Or not. I'm not saying that I can answer every question, but I deal with Hondas every day, and I have a good idea of what the problem could be based off of experience. So I try to shed a little bit of light towards that and help people out. So welcome if it's your first time here, if you are a new subscriber. If not, you guys are rad for hanging out with me every Monday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So give people a couple seconds to get in here, and we will get started. I have about 6 questions tonight, and yeah, so we'll get rolling on that. Make sure, let me know if you guys can hear me or not. I have a wireless system set up that I got, and I'm trying to make sure it's working. But I also sent out the first order about like last week of shirts. So I hope that you guys got them, and I think some people have gotten them. My brother and sister out in Florida got theirs, so I hope you guys are enjoying them. I have a brand new shipment I have a brand new order or shipment of shirts coming in hopefully by next weekend to fill more orders and to get them out to you guys. So they're pretty cool. Motorcycle MD logo on the front, big logo on the back. It's pretty tough. I like them. They're super soft. So I'm going to pull up the live feed on this channel real quick so that I can view the questions. After I'm done going through the questions, I'll leave the floor open for however long, 15-20 minutes, and I'll hopefully ask people on demand, or I'll hopefully answer people on demand when they ask the question. So if you have any burning questions or anything, wait till the end and ask me then, and I'll try to get through them as much as possible. Let me turn this off and pull this up. All right, Kyle, what's behind me is a VTX 1300. Andrew spent all day taking his carb off his magnet to clean. My hands are all effed up, and all my jets were clean anyways. Sorry, man. Got my shirt today, so soft my wife is threatening to take it. That's great, Mike. It's awesome, man. I'm glad you enjoy it. So, if she wants to get one, man, you know where they're at. Let me pull up my note sheet, and we will start off with the first question. All right, this one's from Chris out in New Jersey. He has an 83 Honda V45 Magna, 14,000 miles. He's got SS brake lines, so I imagine they're like steel braided. Electrical fixes, mostly stock besides that. He said, "Hey Cody, thanks for sharing your knowledge on Honda bikes with everyone. Extremely helpful. I'm having front brake issues, namely the Didn't I go through this one already? I think I did. Anyways, I'll go through it again. Front issues, namely the calipers. I rebuilt both, new seals, lubricated the bushings, but the pistons seem to progressively freeze the pads against the rotors every time I actuate the brake lever. My assumption is that pressure is being kept from the system by a clogged fluid return hole in the master cylinder, but I think I did a good enough job cleaning it. What do you think? Thanks, Chris." Chris, the key, yes, the top master cylinder could be the issue. They have a tiny, tiny relief hole in the master cylinder, and if any crud or junk gets inside of that, it's usually underneath there's a little like metal tang. All right, so you have the little cup portion with the hole underneath it where all your pressure goes. Then right underneath that little metal tang, there's actually another small relief hole, and it's tiny. And if any crud gets in that, it will keep the pressure from returning back into the master cylinder up top. Okay, so be careful and cover your bike and stuff around you and wear safety glasses, because if you take that metal tang off and relieve that pressure there because it's clogged, it will squirt, brother, like 20 feet in the air. I'm not kidding. So it could be there, but what I would lean into is the brake caliper. So when you take that piston and you pump the pistons out of that front caliper, there are rubber seals behind that. I think you said that you replaced it, the front brake calipers. I rebuilt both, new seals, lubricated bushings. So you replace the seals, which is great. But what you need to do is when you take the pistons out and behind the seals, because the seals are special seals, they're like a square style seal, square circle style seal. And underneath that, where that seal goes, is the land for that seal. And you need to dry the caliper out completely with contact brake cleaner, okay? Get it nice and dry. And then take a scribe or a 90-degree angle pick, and you literally need to start scraping every wall. So if you have a land, this is blown up times 1,000. Okay, here's the inside of the land inside the caliper. All right, you need to make sure you're scraping all inside of here. There's gonna be all kind of crusty crap all in the bottom of there, on this bottom land, and up towards this wall here. And then that seal will then ride in that land. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, clean out wherever those seals go, clean it out very, very thoroughly, because there's parts that you can't see when you tilt that caliper up. You can't see, all the parts you need to see. So a small little mirror if you have one, but a 90-degree pick, scribe, and really just scrape inside. Try not to score the metal too much, but that will help the seal, help the piston return back to its home. And I think you might see great results from that. So great question. Question number 2. It's from Joel in Vancouver Island, Canada. 1982 Suzuki GS 1100G. Suzuki. It's okay. Suzuki makes red bikes. I guess I'll accept it. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I really appreciate your videos. I've heard you mention a couple times that 80s bikes can be tough to find parts for due to models only lasting a year or two. Correct. For someone who loves old bikes but is new to wrenching, are there makes and models years that you'd recommend? Is it easier to find parts of metric 70s bikes than the 80s? When it comes to Honda, because that's where I'll answer from, is the Honda background, I thoroughly dislike 80s bikes. All right, and this was based off of a question from my last episode. If you missed it, check it out on last episode 3 Q&A. Well, when I was talking about 80s bikes being difficult to find parts because of his reason. And 70s bikes, when it comes to Honda, a lot of aftermarket companies are making parts for them because they are magically getting popular again, which is awesome. I love it. I own one, 1970 CL450. I love it. I love all of you. I have a good buddy of mine, Doug, brought me in his CB 500 554. So I love him. The 70s bikes you can find parts for. I just screwed this whole thing up. On Dime City Cycles or 4into1.com or Common Motor, you'll find a plethora of repop parts for those bikes. The 80s is a lot more difficult. So when it comes to Honda, if you can hit the 70s because of the aftermarket parts, or the 90s and up. But even now, some 90s, like Honda is only required to keep parts for 10 years. I know it sounds crazy, but only 10 years. That's why a lot of shops don't work on bikes past 10 years. You lose out on money on them because you have a flat rate time or you have a flat rate shop time, like ours is 85 an hour. It sounds like a lot, but it gets burned up quick. And so you lose money on older bikes. So that's why they don't do the 10-year game. But 90s bikes are a lot more parts that you can find. The charging systems are spot on the 90s bikes. A lot of things were starting to get perfected in the 90s, I feel, and then into the 2000s, and then so on and so forth. The 80s was like an experimental phase, I look at it as. So 70s, 90s, and up. I know the 80s bikes are cool. There's some 900s and some, all kinds of, crazy one-off bikes, but that's my advice. Great question. All right, let's see. Number 3, from Peter. A 1987 Honda Super Magna. Cool bike. I just performed the switch cleaning for the first time, which is my turn signal switch cleaning video on my YouTube channel. It's a great video. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Thanks for the video tutorial. Not sure what I missed though. The signals don't stay on, but when selecting the flash with no problem. Are they supposed to be on constantly? Is it all good? Thanks much, Peter. Only the front lights should be on. They're running lights. They are a 3-wire dual filament bulb. Almost all US bikes have that, besides when you get into like the 70s and stuff like that. Like my CL does not have running lights on the front. So the rears will not stay on, but they'll only function as turn signals. The front should act as running lights and blink as well. Quick answer, nothing to it. Question 4. Caleb from Atlanta, Georgia, 1972 Honda 350F. And I was actually chewing on this question for a long time because I'm not 100% sure I understand what you mean. But I'm going to give my advice to what I read. I'm restoring this bike and quite a few of the parts are rusted together. The two hardest things to take apart have been the left engine cover and the rear axle because both rusted onto the parts they were attached to. I got the rear axle out using muriatic acid, but I haven't been able to get, I bet that was an ugly experience. I'm sorry you had to use that. But I haven't been able to get anything to work on the rust between the shifter rod and left engine cover. What's throwing me off is that the shifter is a different metal than the cover is, from what I understand. I may be wrong. I haven't seen a 350F in a long time, but I believe the cover is made of like a aluminum magnesium pot metal. And left engine cover. The inside of the engine and the shifter rod are rust free, but the outside of the rod won't budge no matter what I do. I have tried heat, PB blaster, and muriatic acid. I really don't want to start hitting it with a hammer like I did with the rear axle. My question to you, and I know this isn't really like an answerable question right now, but get back to me about are you able to shift the bike? 'Cause when I think of shift lever, shift lever, is that what he said? 2 parts. The hardest part to take off is the axle and because of the shift rod. So the rod, are you able to shift the bike? Because if you're able to shift the bike, then it's not seized to the case. It's the case's problem not getting past the rust. You know, that's what I'm drawing in my head. So can you shift the bike or not? If you can't, then it's going to have to be, something's going to have to get destroyed, man. Like, either you are continuous about using heat and some kind of solvent and vibration or something. Or I'm imagining you're trying to pull the shift rod out from the other side of the case. So sandpaper, whatever you can get inside in front of that shift rod coming out of the cover, that's where I would hit first. That's my best advice with that. I know it's kind of a funky question, but I wanted to get it up here. Sorry, I can't answer that better. Number 5. This one is from a guy I've met on YouTube, Zippo Varga. What's going on, man? He has a channel himself on YouTube, Zippo Varga. Check him out. He does some some different odds and end videos that are pretty cool to watch. So make sure you check him out. His channel's pretty cool. He's got he said he's got all kinds of Hondas, 350Fs, 200s. There you go. Ask Zippo is this CB350F. He might be able to help you out with that. CL200, CB125S, CM185T. All kinds of bikes. He said, hey Cody, Zip here. This one is about a 1978 Twin Star CM185T. A rare one. Purchased knowing it ran without the battery. I threw 20 plus volts at the entire bike, probably by accident, I imagine. Or the regulator was off or something, blowing every bulb. Now it's charging correctly and runs, but under load, it misses horribly. Is it possible the condenser coil points, so on and so forth, were damaged with that 20-volt spike? What should I look for to correct the electrical spark issue? It will idle great, throttle response is great until you put the bike under load and ride it. Help. Cheers, Cody. P.S. With just 2,987 original miles and looking like it just rolled off the showroom floor, I only gave $600 for it. That's awesome. Reminder, which I doubt I need to, it's a 6-volt system. There's a huge chance that a lot of parts were screwed up in that spike. One good way to see if a condenser is bad is on point systems when you're running the bike at idle. Just look at them. All right, just look at it. If there's if you can see like tiny sparks popping off the points, like bright blue or white sparks, just sporadically when the points are actuating, you should see nothing there. So if you are seeing spikes of sparks there, the condensers are bad. I would also make sure that when you're using a timing light, make sure that, I'm not sure if that model has an advancer, but make sure that it is advancing when you're giving it throttle up to that high RPM. Make sure that it is advancing to its advanced marks. That's a great way to see if that whole system is working. But the points themselves probably aren't damaged, but I can see the condensers or coils being damaged. But with the condensers, do that trick. Just look at it and watch it fire and see if you got sparks flying up. If you do, I would replace them. Also, correct. I know this is a weird one, but correct spark plug. All right. I had a CL450 that had the wrong plugs in it, and they were not long enough. They had a short plug in it. So you have a spark plug hole that's this long, and the plug's only coming down about that far in the spark plug hole. You're losing compression, a little bit of compression, and that spark's not hanging out into the cylinder like it should. So, obviously check the spark plugs. And yeah, that would be my advice. Okay. All right. Question number 6. Last question, and then I'll open the floor up and see what kind of questions you guys got firing off. So, I don't know how to respond. I think it's Asia. I want to say the name is from Sweden. 1983 Kawasaki Z400 RT Twin. I don't even know what that bike looks like, but I'll help you out. Thanks for the interesting Q&A and tutorials. I've learned lots. This is a long one, kinda. I bought the bike some months ago. It had been standing unused in a garage for 5 years. Carburetor issues. That's my first thought when I read this. 5 years. At the time, it's only been sporadically and only been used sporadically in 10 years. The bike started easily, but was terrible to ride. Powerless and would not do more than 45 miles per hour. Plus, the idle was going up and down like crazy. I cleaned the carbs and replaced the membranes. I imagine he means like the vacuum diaphragm pistons or something like that. They had huge holes, or big holes. It gave the bike some power back since I was running very uneven. I had a professional clean and sync the carbs. Now it runs like this. Cold start, full choke for 45 seconds, then choke off or the bike dies. Riding is fine for about 15 to 20 minutes, then the RPM starts going wild. When I let go of the throttle, the RPM stays, goes down just a bit, or even goes up more. The mechanic told me, this is funny, the mechanic who fixed the carbs told him to put double dose of injector cleaner in the tank for 4 tanks. But it seems not to be it doesn't seem like it's helping. What might be the problem? That is hilarious. That last part. That is like a that's a, I don't know. I don't know that guy who said that, but the problem is he probably cleaned the carbs and he did a bad job, and then they tried to say, oh yeah man, all you gotta do is just put a fuel injector cleaner in your tank and that will solve the problem that I did not fix. Pretty much is what he's saying. If I gave a bike back to a customer and they paid for me to clean their carburetor out, carburetors, whatever. I say, yeah, man, it's probably going to run like that for a while. Just put injector cleaner in it, and it'll fix it. I should not be in this field, honestly, but that happens more than not. So to answer the question, you still got a carburetor problem. The RPM fluctuations, that could be a sync issue. He didn't sync them right. It could be a lean problem. So you have some. It's probably not the carb sync issue, but it could be. Based off of the information he told you to do with the injector cleaner, I can almost say he didn't clean the carb right and he didn't sync them right. So we'll just start from there. But a vacuum leak can cause that problem. He said, I think he mentioned that he has. Someone did. If you're turning your handlebars, and the RPMs are going up and down, check the free play and the throttle. But probably a vacuum leak, man. And there's some videos that I have on here about diagnosing carburetor issues. Actually, my very, very first video I ever put out on Motorcycle MD was about that. And using starter fluid to diagnose that is a very quick way and a tried and true way to do that. Using choke is not bad. That's why it's there. All right. So if someone tells me that they're having a problem, it's only starting on choke, and then when you turn, and then or they have to use choke to start the bike. That's not a rare problem. So that doesn't seem too bad, but I would check for vacuum leaks. That's what I would check for. Vacuum leaks, and be ready to go back into the carburetors again to do a more thorough job of cleaning them. Not just the jets, but soaking the carbs in some kind of solution to get them right. All right, so I don't know much about that Kawasaki Z400R R2 twin. I'll have to Google it and see what it looks like, but that's my advice, and that is the end of my questions. Okay, so if you guys have anything that you want me to go over, or you got whatever, now's the time. I'm going to open the floor up to you guys, and hopefully we can kind of go back and forth on what kind of problems you're having. So, what I got right now, no question but enjoy washing, all good. Spent the day taking the carbs off. I have an 81 Yamaha 650. I'm having an issue with no electricity. All right, so Dan McWilliams, I have an 81 Yamaha XJ 650. I'm having issues with no electricity going to my headlight, and it's getting power to the fuse box, but nothing after. I would say that you have a break in the line between the fuse box and the headlight, or the starter button could be a problem, because I haven't memorized. I mean, I don't mess with the Yamahas. I mess with Hondas all day long. So my advice is to check the wiring schematic and see if the headlight wire goes through the starter button, because on a lot of Hondas, when you hit the starter button, it's designed to kill the headlight to allow for full voltage and amperage to hit the starter to start the bike. Once you release, the headlight goes off. If you can start the bike and have it running, kind of press or flick the starter button and see if you got any fluctuation in the headlight. A lot of Gold Wings have that problem. All right. So a lot of non-Honda questions. Mark Saldana, 79 Suzuki GS 850, pods with 4-into-1 exhaust, no baffle, pops through carbs and exhaust only when choke is on. I don't see why. Don't put the choke on. I know that is a smart ass question, answer, excuse my language, but I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Like, how does it run when it's not on choke? Would be my question to that, because I mean, how it runs on choke doesn't really matter too much if it runs great off choke. So I don't know how to answer that. Got his shirt, Mr. Jarvels, awesome. Glad you got it, man. Let's see, Roland. Hey, I know him. Is there anything such as a plug-and-play replacement LED headlight for a 1982 CB450 Nighthawk? Absolutely. It might not be LED, but it's going to be halogen, or there's going to be, I'm sure that there's an LED one, man. Just like, you can buy it. I'm sorry. So as far as it being plug and play, probably not. But you can make anything work. Like, they make universal headlights all day long with the same exact size that will fit into your bucket, but the wiring may be a little bit different. Or it may be the same. But they definitely make one for your bike. They make one for almost any bike. But as far as like a plug and play, I mean, it's really 3 wires, Roland. It's a low beam, high beam, and a ground. So with the LED light system, it may go through like certain, it all depends on which one you get, but it shouldn't be very complicated for the LED system because it's still the same amount of wiring. It's when you get into like HID kits and stuff like that where they have ballast and they have all this different stuff. David Farrell asks, any thoughts of adding fuel injection to a bike? If you plan on not riding that bike for many, many months, potentially years, of never it being fully correct or always having a problem with it, go for it. That is a very difficult thing to do, and requires lots of money. You have to get harnesses, you have to get sensors, you have to somehow get sensors for each bike, you have to get safety sensors for the fuel injection, you have to get bank angles, you have to get crank positions, cam positions, throttle positions. I mean, dude, it's no. People have asked me that a lot, man, and that does not seem worth it to me at all. Just buy one. Just buy a fuel injected bike. But still a good question. Mike, I don't know what an NT650. Oh wait, yeah, I do. NT650. Hold on. NT650. So this must not be all right, it's not made in the US. So I don't know anything about it, man. I've never seen that bike here. It may be made in the US, but I've never seen it here. The 650 motor, I don't know. Sorry, man. I would say if it's 80s, I would try to avoid it and go and dip into the 90s. But you know, what condition is that bike in? It hasn't been ridden hard, put up wet, you know, type thing. And the 650 motor, I don't see them too often, Mike. Honestly, they're kind of a rare breed. So I haven't done much work on the 650 motors. So I know that the new 650 from Honda is an awesome motor. It's like a CBR 650F. Look at that bike. That bike's sweet. So yeah. Matt, 96 Shadow 1100. After running for 40 miles, the motor has a slight tick. Is that a normal Honda thing? How many miles do you have on the bike, Matt? Hopefully you answer it, and then I'll get back to it. Caleb. Oh, this is that shift one. Bike won't shift as the shift rod twists forward. The engine cover moves with it, and both won't move forward after the engine cover starts to contact the cover. Man, that's awful. Oh man, dude, you're gonna I don't have a quick fix for that. If I was working on it, I would just be like going at it with, you know, little picks or scribes or an external sandblaster. Dude, very, very carefully, man. I wish I had a better answer for that, but definitely cleaning up as far in as on that rod as you can go to the case with some sandpaper or some Scotch-Brite, so you know that everything back is clean. It's just right in that one area. But I would heat the mess out of it, honestly. I would heat it up like crazy and then go after it. Not hit it with a hammer while it's hot, but just, you know, work at it with gloves on. All right, let's see, how far into it? We're at 30 minutes? Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna drink some Coke real quick. Starting to get cold here. Cold. Starting to get 60 degrees. I know a lot of guys up north are like, dude, it's like snowing. Or out west, Colorado. But Simplex Grinnell, 1978 Honda CB400T is 300 degrees fair F measured at the plug, a normal operating temperature after a 10-minute ride. It's not liquid cooled. I mean, you have an explosion going on in your cylinder. Liquid cooled bikes, fan comes on around between like 212 and 240-ish on some liquid cooled bikes. So that's hot. I imagine it's hotter inside of the cylinder that's containing an explosion at the spark plug for it to be upwards around that temperature, especially on an air-cooled bike. Is it safe to continually let that bike idle at 300 degrees without moving it through the air? I would say that that's a bad idea. But I wouldn't be too worried about that 300 degrees at the plug for a 10-minute ride. I don't even know how cold it is where you're at, or if you were sitting in traffic or what, but at the plug, I wouldn't consider that to be too big of a deal. Okay. Sorry if it's like flatline for a second. I'm trying to read and see if I can answer it. Daniel, hey Cody, where can I find a part number list on a specific carb? I have float level issues on my 81 650. Non-adjustable floats, carbs are VB44A. You can go to, any parts, that was nasty, any parts, Honda parts, OEM parts website, like Babbitt's Honda. Just literally Google Honda factory motorcycle parts, and it will come up with like 3 different websites. And then you can pull up diagrams of your carburetor, an exploded view, and that's usually, I've actually tested it, it's usually the same view that I get from actual Honda parts catalog on the computer, which is what we use here. So that would be your exploded view. Don't expect to be able to get every single part from the carb as its own separate entity. A lot of them are combined. So, and it's another 80's bike, so best of luck. See any more Honda questions? Let's see. From Juanita, she's ordered some shirts for me. What's going on, Juanita? I'm trying to remember names. 98 Aero 1100. After fixing other issues, I have noticed a full tank, 4-gallon, only gets me about 80 miles. This means you're doing about 20 miles a gallon, right? Yeah. Regular Honda air filter, Vance and Hines long shots. No idea whatever previous owner has done. They could have put a jet kit in it. I'm not sure how the bike runs, but they could have put a jet kit in it, which would lower the miles per gallon that you're getting. 20, I wouldn't bark at that too hard. I'm sure some other 1100 owner can tell you what they get per gallon. I get about 25, 26 on my inline 4. And my buddy's Goldwing gets around 34, 35. So you're not too far off, but someone may have gone into the carburetor of that Juanita and increased the main jet size, maybe increased the main jet needle. Otherwise, I would double check your tire pressures. Man, something in my nose. Double check your tire pressures, make sure they're at the proper pressure, because you'd be surprised at how much that helps the bike roll. All right. David asked, or said, the reason why I asked, I think that was the fuel injection question, was it? David, sounds familiar. Yeah. The reason I asked is because I want to turbo it, and no one seems to use turbo with carb bikes much, but if you know anyone that uses carbs and turbo, I'd appreciate advice. Yeah, man, there's some guys on, I'm in a bunch of groups on Facebook, like, like Nighthawk groups, the CB750 Nighthawk group, and there's some guys who do some pretty cool stuff with the 80s bikes being turboed and carbureted. Ooh, so I would check out Facebook groups and get in on one and ask around. You might see me there. FOHDFW says 43 in Maine, let's go ride. That's awesome. I got some heated grips. I mean, I'm down. That's far. All right. So, let's see. Looks like we got one more question on here. The official Tranquil Phoenix says, I'm restoring an 81 80s bikes, dude. It's like 80s night. 80s night. That was stupid. 81 Suzuki GS 550T. Any thoughts or tips on trying to see if she cranks over with the starter? It has no kickstart. I'm also switching to pod filters. The original airbox is no good. Yeah. Find the starter solenoid. Grab a crappy pair of pliers and jump that thing. Okay, you'll get instant 12 volts to the battery. No ifs, ands, or from the battery. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It'll jump the starter solenoid if it's bad, and it will give full action to that starter. If it does nothing, and all you do is tap it. You'll probably see a spark. Don't jump. Just hit it. Hold it for a second. If nothing happens, then you have a starter problem or the motor's locked up. If it hits it and you hear the starter going, then you know the starter's working and the motor is turning through. Don't do it for too long, you can damage the starter solenoid. Ding! Let's see. It's good. It's good stuff. My wife would kill me. She's a dental hygienist. Coke on the teeth is not good. But she drinks Coke. All right, we got, let's see, we got some random stuff. I'm sorry. I said that was the last one, but I lied. Did that guy ever get back to me about the 1100 problem? Matt? Yeah, Matt. Matt, what's up, Matt? 19,000 miles on the tick, on the old ticker. So, Matt, I would say that is a common thing for those bikes, for the 1100s, and it's more than likely 19,000. I don't know the life of that bike and its story that it could tell you if it could speak. But if someone mistreated that bike poorly, didn't change the oil as often, ran it low on oil sometimes, when they weren't checking or something like that. Common problem with those are the timing chains and tensioners go bad on them. I'm not saying that yours is bad. You'll know if it's bad. It's like a rattle from hell. But it's probably not bad. You also have HVA system, a hydraulic valve adjusting system. All right, and those can sometimes tick if they're not working quite like they should. I would change oil in it, every 3,000 miles. Good oil, Honda oil, whatever you want to do. Not car oil. I would stick with GN4 1030 or 1040, and just keep changing it, man, and see if it goes away. And maybe let's say 50 miles before you say, okay, I'm getting ready to change the oil. I know this is crazy, but you can add just a little bit of some kind of concentrated cleaner, like some kind of seafoam, the infamous seafoam or marble mystery oil, a little bit, like 50 miles before you go. You get nice and hot, and that stuff can kind of help the HVA system, help clean out if there's any kind of deposits or anything like that. When it's hot, I would listen for when you rev the bike up, if it goes away and then comes back once you get back to idle, that can kind of tell you some things. There's also, someone did a write-up about a tick on that bike with like a oil gully being clogged or something. And he like drilled a hole into the head and did all this work. I don't think it's worth it. I would just keep constant with the oil changes, man. You'll ride that bike until the wheels fall off, all right? So yeah. Okay, seriously, last question. Christopher Borrowick. Hey Cody, thanks again for sharing your Honda experience with us. You're very welcome, man. I've been working on a 1983 Honda V45 Magna. I got lots of Magna questions and lots of 80s questions. Guess those are the bikes people were fixing. Ain't no problem. For the past year, I noticed some ticking when I let out the clutch without throttle. It did sit for a few years. Any troubleshooting tips? Ticking when you let clutch out with throttle. Man, I wish I could hear it. I wish I could hear it. I wouldn't be too concerned with it, man, but I wish I could hear it. I don't know what to tell you for that specific instance. I would get it hot, change the oil in it constantly, and see if it gets any better as you use that clutch over and over again and go through the paces with it. Again, like I just told that other guy, you have a couple different things that could cause the ticking, and just make sure your oil's good, topped off, changed periodically. Oh man, I got like 20 more questions. I'm gonna literally, I swear, I'm gonna do one more question. The rest of the questions that I get, go to the website, man, and log into that, subscribe, join a mailing list, and fill out that Q&A that I have there. That would be super helpful instead of like these one-off questions that's hard for me to wrap my head around without full knowledge. Victor Hugo Vega, hello Cody, how do you know when you need a valve adjustment? Thank you in advance. Well, if it's a Honda, every bike has a specific maintenance schedule. Some are at 8,000, some are at 24,000, some are at 32,000, like the Gullwing. Check that, call your local friendly Honda shop and ask them, hey, when is the valve adjustment for the blah, blah, blah? And they'll be like, oh, it's at 16,000, and then you'll know. As far as noise, you'll hear a high-pitched tap noise at the top of the head, and it will, that noise, when you hear it idling and tapping, when you give it throttle, the tapping will increase, and then come back down. Very, very small noise. Sometimes they're really loud if it's really bad. But just go off the mileages, man. If it's at 24,000 miles, I would do it. Just so you know, because I know that it had to have been done at least 1 or 2 times before 24,000. That's my best advice. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at TheMotorcycleMD, as well as Facebook. I post up funny stuff there all the time, or tips throughout the week. Thank you guys so much for your questions and just tuning in and hanging out with me. Again, Motorcycle MD t-shirts, I will have them a new stock by the end of the week, I'm hoping. So I'll let you guys know then. I'm working on a video right now. Sorry I haven't put like really cool videos out besides these. I don't make money through this stuff, you know, so when I'm at work, I'm trying to just hustle and just make as much money as possible so I can survive the winter that I'm about to go through. So now's my time to make videos, really. Like in the winter time when it slows down, I got time to do it. So I'm working on some more electrical videos, okay? I want to touch base with you guys on some super basic, easy ways to use test lights and just to get the scare of electricity out of your mind, besides it shocking you. But how to read it, how to follow it, how to put turn signals on, just simple stuff like that. Be looking out. I'm going to have that video, guys, hopefully within a week or 2. So, Cody from Motorcycle MD, bringing you guys quality tips and tricks for your next build or your daily rider. Every Monday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Come hang out with me here on YouTube Live. See you guys next time.